Hey everybody, it's Bob Crossan, Senior Managing Editor for Water and Waste Digest. I am joined today by Eric Staab. He is Professional Environmental Engineer in the Industrial Programs Group for the Bureau of Water in the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. And we also have David Kalscheur. He is VP of Engineering for National Beef Packing Company, and we're going to be talking about the National Beef Wastewater Treatment Plant. So thank you both for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time and talking about this project, which congratulations, also won a top project for 2022.
Thank you.
So this actually is one of the only industrial projects that we actually have on our list this year. So certainly consider yourself in high esteem there. But I wanted to get an understanding of like the impact of this project on the community and the local service area. Could you talk a little bit about the community around this particular plant and what the construction of this plant means for that community?
Yeah, I think on the part of National Beef, National Beef operates a packing plant in Liberal, Kansas. It's right on the eastern edge of the city, and for several decades discharged our plant wastewater effluent through city's treatment plant. And then it went into a NPDES discharge to the Cimarron River, a little bit north of the city of Liberal. There was a move to modernize the treatment plants, and running a combined municipal plant and an industrial plant with an NPDES discharge can be very challenging. The waste streams, the volumes, and the strengths are vastly different. And so I don't know, Eric, probably around mid 2015, 2016, there was a move to say, what does updated facility look like? Is it a combined facility, or might it be two separate facilities? The city was looking at doing a lot of reuse and reclaim back into city parks and through an outfall wetlands area that they had wanted to better service. And then we looked at our organic waste stream as better suited for farming and agricultural use. And so the decision was made to build two separate treatment plants at that time.
Yeah. What was kind of the catalyst behind this? You mentioned a couple of the challenges of the previous setup of like the high strength waste and the volume and just kind of the challenge of managing all of that. Was that kind of the main reason for wanting to get this plant started up, or was there more to that decision?
I guess I would point out that, for the city of Liberal, which is a moderate to small city, and National Beef, which is a fairly large packing operation, their amount of waste that they generate, especially in the meat packing industry, has a lot of high strength waste versus domestic wastewater. So predominantly the waste flow through the city system became National Beef's waste flow, their waste strength, and also their volume. They had probably more volume than the city, and then 10 times the amount of waste flow, waste strength. And so operating a municipal system can be really challenging, versus operating an industrial wastewater system, which can, have its own unique characteristics and, unique operation there, especially, the revenue and what they're trying to recover as far as product within the facility. So putting it back into National Beef's hands for operation made it good for National Beef, but also made it good for the city. Because city, with where we're going with advanced wastewater treatment and nutrient removal and things like that, and having municipal operators, by separating that, it made operation of the municipal system modern and more attuned to what a municipal wastewater operation would be like, and it divided that out so National Beef could operate their own system the way it would best work for them.
Yeah. Well, and the benefits of this too, from my understanding, that the nomination form mentioned kind of a cornerstone to this was the sustainability elements of it, of reducing reliance on aquifer water and reusing treated wastewater for irrigation and things like that. Why was that kind of such an important tenet? What it seems to be a tenet for this project. Why was that such an important part of this project overall?
Farming is possible in Southwest Kansas through a heavy reliance on irrigation and pulling water out of what is known as the Ogallala Aquifer. It's an aquifer that had been tapped, I think, probably sometime in the mid to late 60s when center pivot irrigation became, widely available and used. So the aquifer is heavily mined for its irrigation water, to the point where there's a lot of effort in looking at the water rights from the Ogallala and making sure that it's not over pumped to kind of manage a sustainable model of water usage. If I can take the water out and use it in a packing plant as a potable water source in the harvest and processing of beef cattle, and then treat it, and then have that same water then go out onto ground that otherwise would have pulled water straight out of the Ogallala, then that water really gets two uses. It gets used first as a potable source, it gets treated, and then it gets used as an irrigation source. And so we partnered with a very progressive farmer just north of where the facility is located, and he had provided some of his groundwater water rights to National Beef. We look at that as a nice, sustainable closed loop model. We take the water out in a potable sense, use it, treat it, and then it goes on to farm ground in an irrigated sense.
Yeah. Eric, is there anything you would like to add to what he was talking about there?
Yeah, well, I don't want to repeat too much, but obviously the depletion of the Ogallala is a huge issue in not just the state of Kansas, but the entire, range where it runs from South Dakota to Texas. And so that, and they're changing pumps out and drawing deeper all the time. And it's just a huge challenge to get water supply to Western Kansas. Where I came involved with that water was in the reuse of it through the irrigation plans that we do review as part of that permit. And so instead of seeing it being discharged, we get to see that beneficial reuse, which, we're happy to see in crop production and available water resources for Western Kansas.
Yeah. Well, one of the pivoting just a little bit, one of the challenges that was in that nomination form mentioned the footprint and construction sequencing as being kind of like two other elements that were a little bit of a challenge there. How did you overcome some of those problems there? Was there different technologies that you used? Was it just a matter of better coordination? What were some of the things you guys were doing to try and overcome that?
Yeah, getting started is always one of the bigger challenges. We purchased from the city 212 acres of very dated treatment technology, a lot of some anaerobic ponds, and then a bunch of just facultative ponds, followed by a final holding pond. They had been in use for, oh gosh, Eric, I would think probably better than 35 years. So there was an amount of accumulated sludge buildup and just repair that was needed on the dikes and just the overall infrastructure around the ponds. And so and the city knew that there was going to be some cleanup restoration work necessary, and that was part of the reason they sold the land to us at a very favorable price, but with the understanding that we would go ahead and repair and restore everything. So we first undertook cleaning out the lagoons in the various states, and that encompassed the better part of almost $13 million of lagoon cleaning and repair effort.
Well, yeah, it sounds like you had quite a few things that you had to balance and manage there. Like you said, you had those different ponds. So the footprint was like, oh, we have the ponds. That's about what we can work with. But you were able to work around that. Sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that you hoped? Are there certain things that you hope that other industrial users and other municipalities that work with industrial users can learn from your particular project? Were there certain collaborative efforts there that you felt are useful as kind of a case study or a problem solving solution for folks out there?
Yeah, I would say this. Everybody that we worked with as National Beef on this project was very open-minded. Everybody, this took a collaboration of, we needed the state's support. And the state was very supportive. They said, we like the model too, what you're doing to trying to protect the groundwater. And there were a couple of years where we were really having to juggle where water went and how the city could take water, as we were building everything. The city was very accommodating in providing, making the land available. The various farmers that we reached out to were very open-minded, and we did good sludge analysis, and the agronomists did a very nice job of developing application rates and things so that it was a win for everybody. We needed to move solids. Some of those soils out there are not the greatest, and they certainly would benefit from the nutrients load that our sludge had. And if we ever got into a bind and needed to move some water, we could, with a relationship with the city, discharge through their NPDES permit. The state was very accommodating in making sure that their permit allowed that discharge to happen if needed. We prefer it not to, just because the farmer really wants the water in the spring. So we try to hold it, but size of holding ponds and weather, there's several things we've learned how to juggle the first year or two. Eric and I had several conversations on water levels and what we were doing to manage things and getting our alfalfa stand healthy and ready to take wastewater versus fresh water. And so we've learned a lot.
The wastewater system is designed as a non-discharging system and used for irrigation for recycling. If we had established permit limits, if they had to have, and they do have some if they go to the city, some of our water quality standards like ammonia have increased, have become less, restrict or more restrictive. And so they implemented this Bardenpho process, and it's a unique new technology, advanced wastewater treatment technology that we're really interested in seeing the results. We don't have a track record yet per se. It's been in operation a year maybe, or slightly more, but so, and it does the nutrient removal. It's doing the things in wastewater that we want it to do, or will be. That's our expectation. And it eliminating any discharge of those pollutants that would be going to waters of the state. And there's other consultants and things. We've used a lot of our experience in implementing the project and working with consultants that were some of the most practiced ones in the state. People that desludged, people that irrigated, people that designed earthen lagoons, as well as the design of the advanced wastewater plant. So they brought in resources, just about everywhere they could. Handling of the brine pond areas that got improvement, making those anaerobic lagoons, getting the full volume and capacity back to raise it up to the optimum level of treatment. So we think we're going to see an awful lot of improvement in overall wastewater treatment at a very large scale.
Well, that's fantastic. It sounds like a really incredible marriage across all the different elements there, from the state side to the city side to National Beef, even the local community. It sounds like it all worked out really well, and I think that people can learn a lot from the project here. And so thank you both for being here. I really appreciate you both taking the time with me. For everyone who's watching, definitely check out our video description below. We'll have some more details about this project so you can read a little bit more about it and gain a better understanding of it. And once more, to both of you, thank you for being here, and thank you for taking so much time with me.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.